Hey, aloha everybody, it's Bob Smith from Smith Taekwondo and Pro Sport Kickboxing coming at you with your child self-defense tip of the week. Talking about predators, and this is, I believe it's the 8th installment. And I want to talk about something that a lot of parents, a lot of you are going to go, even if you watch my other videos on child predators, you're going to be like, oh no, that'll never happen to my child. This guy, Dr. Robert Brown, was the head psychologist. He was the chief of psychiatry here in Hawaii at the Kamehameha schools from 1958 up into the 90s. This man was the head of psychiatry. He oversaw everything. He was a civil rights activist. He was politically active. And he preyed upon the children in Kamehameha for decades. And he also listened to the confessions of priests, Catholic priests, who were also doing the same thing to our children. Our children at their most vulnerable times in their lives. I know parents want to say that'll never happen to my child, never going to happen to my kid knows better, my kid knows what to do. Do they really when it's in a position of authority? This guy was the chief of psychiatry, Dr. Robert Brown. He was listening to all the dirtiest secrets possible of the priests who were doing the same thing to those innocent children. Now, these children are vulnerable. They're more vulnerable than you can ever imagine. They come in from Lanai, the Big Island, Maui, Molokai, Kauai, and they dorm here. They don't have their parents. They don't have a support structure. They don't have a network of anybody to rely on. And can you imagine back in the 50s and 60s, most of those kids, their parents didn't even have telephones. Who are they going to tell? Who are they going to call? Now, this week's child predator tip is on threats. Can you imagine how many years and how many hundreds of children who have still not come forward out of humiliation, out of embarrassment? Some of the kids have taken their own lives since that's happened because of this man, because of this evil son of a bitch, this child predator in the worst way possible. Innocent little children like yours and mine, when they were growing up, adolescence, all the way through high school, knowing that this guy was getting his jollies by listening to these other priests who were doing the same thing, and knowing that he was getting his jollies by raping, sodomizing, molesting, and assaulting innocent victims that were sent here in the trust of the church and of authorities of the school system of Kamehameha and Bishop Estates, which we are told that we can trust unconditionally. I can't tell you how many secrets there are in each church, but if you have the blinders on and you think it doesn't go on in your church, you need to take a look around. Especially these mainstream large organizations. These kids are sent here and they have to deal with threats. Can you imagine the kind of threats this guy must have told these kids? You keep your mouth shut or else. You know, and you need to pay attention because this can happen to any one of us at any time. I don't care if you're a teacher in a school. You need to pay attention to the other teachers. A couple of years ago, my daughter was going to one of the most prestigious private academies here in Hawaii, and one of the male teachers approached me, and my daughter told me, oh God, what's the matter? She told me all the girls think this guy, he's weird. And sure enough, come to find out, this guy had been involved and assaulted a girl, a 15-year-old girl. And ladies as far as 20 years ago knew about this guy. Well, he got arrested. He's in prison. Can you imagine the threats this guy must have told people? So parents, think about this. Adults, think about this. If you're a teacher, think about this. You need to find a way to communicate to your students that they can trust you. And if somebody uses a lure, such as a threat, I'll hurt your family if you tell anybody, or you enjoyed it too, so I'll tell everybody how much you enjoyed it. I'll come to your house. Threats can be anything. I'll expose you. I will ruin you on social media. Even that, if you take a look at how many people, dozens of kids over the past decade have ended their lives because of bullying on social media, because of threats on social media. I see a coward here in Hawaii that's trying to, well, he loves to use social media. Threats. So here's a scenario, parents. Your kids are walking home from school, and instead of walking on the sidewalk, they decide to take a shortcut behind the building. A man steps out, somebody they're familiar with, pushes them up against the building. What should they do? He tells them, don't move or I'll hurt you. What should they do? Here's another scenario. They're always taking shortcuts through the football field. A couple of big trees, a couple of big bushes over there, parking lot. There's always a few cars. This time when they walk by, there's a strange man sitting in the parking lot. And he may or may not smell some pakalolo, and guy looks a little off, a little distant. But your kids try to ignore it. And instead of walking around that car, they still try to walk past it, taking the shortest route. Man opens the door and blocks their way, grabs them by the wrist. What should they do? At this point in time, what should they do? Well, I can't tell you, I cannot stress enough how important self-defense is for your children. And self-defense isn't going to class and learning a couple of moves and then quitting so you can go play soccer or dance hula or whatever else the activity that your friends are doing. And this happens in a lot of poverty-stricken areas, but it happens everywhere. It's not exclusively poverty-stricken areas. It happens in luxurious neighborhoods. Look at Harvey Weinstein. Look at all the actors that are coming out now. Kevin Spacey. Everybody loved Kevin Spacey. And he actually admitted it, that he diddled some kid when he was a teenager or a preteen. So, what do your kids do? They're at an audition for a commercial here locally in Hawaii, or a TV show, casting call for Hawaii 5-0. You can't go into the casting call with them. You notice that the guy that was on the casting call is a little funny, acts a little odd, but you take your chances. As I was saying, martial arts is no longer a recreational pastime. Smart parents need to understand that your children need to train. They also need to understand that skills are perishable. I have so many parents have had their kids here when they were 5 or 6 years old, and the parents tell me, thank you so much, they'll never forget what you taught them. They'll forget 10 minutes after they walk out the door, because your skills are perishable. You need to train all the time. My adults, you need to train all the time. I need to train all the time. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Your children have a better chance of surviving, of getting away, if their instincts are faster. And their instincts get faster by watching body language and sparring and moving around with other people, a bunch of people, and learning how to move and avoid getting grabbed and hit and taken down and swept off their feet and knocked off balance. They need to learn what's going to happen if somebody tries to punch them in the face or slap them or kick them. There is no, well, I don't want to force them. I mean, if parents do that, that's up to you. But the threat lure is one of the most prevalent in Hawaii. Hawaii is such an aggressive culture. And people love to talk about Hawaii as the aloha spirit, and sadly a lot of that is gone. If you look at the young people, the demographics between 15 and 30, look at the kind of stuff they post on their social media. Everything is about committing crimes and hashtag screw the feds, hashtag screw HPD, FHPD, hashtag thug life, OG, original gangster. So, hear a siren in the background? That's police siren. But anyway, the best thing that kids can do is learn to go bananas. Any predator absolutely loves the opportunity to grab a child who isn't going to fight back because they're in fear. Any predator, I'll wait till he stops. Predators are looking for that child that they can shut up or they can intimidate through fear, through threats, who they can threaten. Just put them in fear so the kid just gives up. Predators are not looking for 50 or 60 pounds of dynamite. Kids who are going to start going bananas, kicking, punching, screaming, eye gouging. Several years ago in California, a man had kidnapped 2 teenage girls, and he told them he was going to kill them. Well, the girls decided, and they went bananas, and they saved their own lives and escaped by cracking the man over the head with a bottle that he had been drinking earlier, and kicking and stomping their way out of the car and getting themselves to safety as a deputy sheriff had come up. So predators don't want somebody who's loud and going to scream. And parents can talk to kids about this until they're blue in the face. It's one of the things we do here at Smith Taekwondo Center is we put on all the pads, especially me, headgear, everything, and we let the kids kick us in the balls. We let them punch me in the face, kick me in the face, stomp me in the face when they're down. They have to be loud, they have to scream. And you'd be surprised that even with martial arts training, how many of them will simply give up. And they'll just cry because they're like, oh, I'm just going to lay here and wait till it's over with. That's the mindset of a child, innocence. So parents, we're not doing them any service by promoting that. There are way too many predators and sex offenders here in Hawaii. Dr. Robert Brown, think about that. Look at all of the sexual assaults that have come out in Hollywood. Look at all the teachers who have quietly resigned here recently in Hawaii. The teachers who have been arrested. And you know what? You got to check your martial arts instructors too. You better check all their backgrounds because I know quite a few in this state who are shady. But get your kids into a reputable program, a good program. Teach them how to go bananas and talk about it. And let them know that anybody can do it. It's a sad fact that even in families, there is sexual assault that goes on. Please don't let your child be a victim. Parents, don't try to prepare the road for your child. Prepare your child for the road ahead. This is Bob Smith, out.